But we got to start with a heel promo heard round the world. And Gabby, I'm going to start with you. It was a masterclass. John Cena, haven't seen him since he turned heel, came out and in an audience that doesn't speak English, they knew some chants, but he had the crowd eating out of his hand for 25 to 30 minutes. What's your take on the beginning of Raw tonight and seeing John Cena as a heel for the very first time?
I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be. He's John Cena. You knew he was going to cut the promo and it was going to be beautiful. I honestly didn't think it was going to be as natural for him as it was, but that's who he is. And the crowd was just hyping me up while I was sitting at home with the boos and the FU Cena and the back and forth. And I'm like, when did they learn all this English in Brussels? Because it's amazing. They know all the good words to throw at Cena. And he was just phenomenal at it. When they cut to the little kid, when he said "you too" over there, and they showed that little kid face in his shirt, that gif will be everywhere this entire year about absolutely everything, and I can't wait to see it. It was one of the best starts to Raw that we've seen in a long time.
I don't think there's any question about that. Tommy, let me come over to you, because if you truly, and I was a heel for a few years and I loved it. There is a fine line between turning a promo into a heel promo and flipping it around into a babyface promo. He used all the years of being a babyface and saying you wanted more, and it wasn't good enough. And I was like, damn, maybe he really did feel like that. What was your take on Cena today in Brussels?
Impeccable, coach. That was a top 10 promo. He embraced his heelness. And let's get into what he was talking about. Just think you're John Cena for 25 years. You've had a boss who's been slamming you down the throat for years to be the ultimate babyface. And that's what he is. He would go into arenas where here, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Imagine hearing that day in and day out. Every time you're in an arena, no wonder why he is the way he is. And that's the way he cut that promo. It's because of you I'm like this right now. And he cut such a great promo. It was unbelievable. The pointing to the kid, that was the money part. But he's embracing his heelness. And that's what a true superstar does, Coach.
I thought about this because I've you guys know I travel with Cena for fairly long time. I know how good of a guy he is. I know how much the kids mean to him. And I know little Johnny sitting in the front row, that I thought to myself, he's got to be a little bit conflicted, because even though the final boss and them, they've been very clear, this is a show. This is Hollywood. You're a character when you're on the show. When you're out the show, that's not who you are. But, Gabby, that's not what pro wrestling is. And to a lot of fans who were there, and especially, this is the first time that this Brussels crowd has ever seen the WWE in person, ever. So to them, this is all real. And for John Cena, did you feel like maybe a little bit that when he got back behind the curtain, maybe he needed to have a moment by himself? Because this is 25 years of the crowd eating, especially international crowds, eating him up. And they literally booed him out of the building.
I almost felt like it in the beginning, too, when he was just standing in the ring and he was letting the crowd chants like get deeper and louder, and he was just sitting in it, that you could tell in his eyes he was just taking it in, because that had to be, you don't know how it's going to be when you walk out there and you make the entrance, and you don't know how overwhelming it's going to be. But like, you could tell he was just standing there, and obviously that impacted the dramatics of it and made it feel way more real and way better. But like, I felt maybe even in that moment, he was like, holy shit, this is really what we're doing. This is really what's happening. And I really am heel, and these people are conflicted and they do hate me, and let's go. Because I feel like that revved the fuel behind his promo, and that's why it started as strong as it did, and it just stayed that strong and so natural. Man, I wish we saw him as a heel sooner, honestly, because he's so good at it.
He's so good at it. And part of what he was talking about was, over the years, he kind of followed The Rock's lead. And in 2002, I remember, and I had a conversation with The Rock. I was like, are you going to try and do both? And The Rock's agents at the time told him, no. If you're going to go do movies, you have to leave. And he did. And his movies made no money because the wrestling crowd says, we're not going to support you. Cena did the exact same thing. So, Tommy, every time that he would come back and forth and then he would win another championship, the crowd didn't necessarily want it, but then the kids loved him, and they bought all of his merchandise. And did you notice tonight, He's wearing the Farewell Tour merchandise, and I couldn't help but think to myself, how many of those are they truly selling now? Because little Johnny, when you take your 2 or 3 kids to, you get one T-shirt or you get one hat. You pick it out. Are they picking out his now? I don't think so. I don't know if I saw really any Cena shirts, but there's a lot of layers to this thing.
There's a ton of layers to this. And he, you know what, Coach? He is so good at doing what he does. He just puts himself in that mindset of where you got to go and how to perform it and how to do it. And he just goes with it. He is just such an incredible human being. And then when Cody came out, it was like they made the whole storyline right there. Cena knows how to play that crowd either way. And he gave him his opinion tonight about what he went through in 25 years. That was the meat of the crux of that promo. It was just incredible, Coach.
You're watching The Last Word. We are live every single Monday on Stadium. You can watch us on social media, also YouTube, but we prefer that you watch us on Stadium. We're available in over 100 million homes. Gabby, Big Tommy, I am the coach. So let's talk about Cody for a second, because it was about Gabby, I would say, 20 to 25 minutes in before we get the American Nightmare music, and the crowd, boy, the pop was amazing, but the promo was very, very short. And I think they were playing in the fact that the crowd wouldn't understand everything he was saying. But what he did say, I thought was very powerful. Your take?
100%. I loved that it was short and sweet, and I love that there was no physicality because you didn't need it. I don't think if he would have came out and they did anything physical, it would have impacted the segment whatsoever. I think the timing was perfect. I think what Cody said was perfect because the reaction of the crowd told the story more so than even the words that were being said, and that's such an incredible thing. But you can't tell me Cody's not one of the most over babyface champions of all time with that reaction that they gave him. They made a chant for him that I was like, that's not even a chant we have for him in the States. It was just made up on the spot. The Cody wrote, like, it was amazing. So I'm like, if you're just watching that and you don't know pro wrestling, you know who the good guy is, you know who the bad guy is without any backstory. And that's what's beautiful about what's happening right now. You know it just by watching it. And that's what Netflix is doing for everybody watching that isn't a pro wrestling fan.
And that's the beauty, Gabby and Tommy, of having Netflix. There's good and there's bad. But in social media, in the social media world of 2025, you cannot have that show air on tape. And now that Netflix is available in 85% of the world, it made it natural to watch it live. It was trending live. And on Mondays, the Monday of March Madness, this was a perfect time to have it. And then you can still watch it at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But I felt like it was even more special, Tommy, to have it in the middle of the afternoon, which I did not feel that way leading up to it. But I was stuck in the Phoenix airport, and me and Gabby are texting each other, and I'm like, at least I've got something to watch as I'm waiting on my delayed airplane. And then when Cody came out and the crowd went bananas, I thought to myself, I remember the European crowds and the foreign crowds were always so great. You would show up, Tommy, and the crowds are behind the arena. They're at the hotel. They literally are on top of you. I loved going to Europe. You go for 10 days at a time. They're over there for 3 weeks. I don't know how the travel is, but if the rest of the events and the shows are as hot as this one, I can't wait for the next Cody John Cena interaction, and I don't know when that's going to be.
Well, I hope it's next week I think they're in Scotland next week. I'm not sure. But here's the other thing, and they should never touch, Coach. These guys should not have physical altercation, anything going on, not until WrestleMania. That story has to be told. They should not have physicality at all every time they go one-on-one. Cody's promo was short, sweet. I've never seen Cody so serious in my life. He made me believe that. He is dead serious about getting in Cena's rear end, and I can't wait to see it. In that short time he cut that promo and dropped the mic on Cena, I'm in the storyline now. I can't wait to see these two again.
I am. He cut him off, and he also I love when you could put somebody over, Gabby, in the middle of being the babyface. And he has said he was my hero growing up because Cody came in after Cena had been around for 8 to 10 years. And that doesn't go away just because Cena's a heel now. So even tonight, he's like, I don't want that Cena. I don't want a little whiny bitch Cena. I want the Cena that I grew up idolizing so I can beat you at WrestleMania. And I'm the one that keeps you from the title number 17. And that's a storyline, Gabby, that I can sink my teeth into.
Yes, that's the words of a real champion. That's someone who's confident in themselves as a champion and knows their worth and knows their strength as a champion, as opposed to some other champions that we'll get into later that I'm not that happy with. But that's exactly how you have to do it. Cody's not going to be scared that it's John Cena coming after him and he decided to be weak and align with The Rock because he couldn't do it himself after all these years. Guess what? You want to beat me? Cool, come and beat me, but be the guy that I looked up to, because that story is everything. And it's amazing. And by the way, my favorite thing about Cena was how calm he was the entire time. He's angry, but he's calm, which just makes him even scarier as a heel. He's not like a crazy heel. He's not like a little boy who's just angry and pissed off. He's calm because he knows what he wants and he knows why he's angry, and it makes sense. It was just all so good.
The other thing I thought about was that the show on A&E. I was watching in my hotel room down in Florida last night, and they were cutting the promos on the show. And I thought, what if these young kids are watching this right now, and you literally are watching a master Tommy at work? And the other part of the Netflix deal that is so nice is there's no length of time. So
That's
tonight
right.
he was able to let it breathe and not worry about, man, we've got to get to the first break. We've got to get to the crossover at 9 o'clock. There was none of that. And so he probably let it go a little bit too long, but the crowd was so hot that he was feeding into it and they had nowhere to go.
Yep. You know what the best part of that whole thing was, Coach, was the finish and the way TV production did it. Cody said it. He dropped the mic. He left Cena standing. The announcers didn't say a word. All you did is hear the crowd. They went to the wide shot and they went to black. That's telling a story right there. Cole knew not to say anything. Corey Graves laid out. You let the fans hear it. The mic dropped. Cena left standing in the ring. Cody walking out. Unbelievable.
But by the way, what about Pat McAfee saying, I'm not going to Brussels, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to stay back in Indiana. Hey, Corey, you get your ass on the airplane and you fly from New York over to Brussels because I ain't going.
Yeah.
That's another flex by Pat McAfee. It just is. It just is. It just is.